Okay,
Okay, go ahead then, Jerry.
In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-10, and regulations governing remote meetings, NJAC 5:39-1.5, I hereby declare this meeting of the Holmdel Township Zoning Board to be open and announce that adequate and electronic notice of this meeting was provided in notices dated January 8th, 2021 and April 16th, 2021. Notices were sent to the Asbury Park Press, Two River Times, and posted on the bulletin board and on the main access door to Town Hall. Notices were filed on the clerk's office and posted on the township's website at www.holmdeltownship.com. This meeting is being conducted on a remote electronic basis using Zoom with live streaming on Facebook and YouTube, and will be archived on the township's YouTube and Facebook pages. As such, recordings of a public meeting are public records, subject to the Open Public Records Act. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to ask questions or provide comments once the meeting is open to the public. At that time, you will need to use the raise your hand feature on the bottom of the screen, and you will be invited into the meeting by the chairperson one at a time. You will need to have audio and video capability. You will be sworn in and asked to provide your name and address for the record. You may also dial 9 if accessing this meeting by telephone.
Let me add that we do not have any public hearings on the agenda for tonight, so I do not anticipate there will be any opportunity for public comment. That's at roll call, please.
Ms. Sabrin?
Here.
Mr. Blumenthal?
Here.
Mr. Buffalino?
Here.
Ms. Campus?
Here.
Mr. Hearn?
Here.
Mr. Orphanatopoulos?
Here.
Mr. Pesci?
Here.
Ms. Kalor?
Yes.
And Mr. Latif?
Yep. Here.
Okay, please rise for Pledge of Allegiance and then say, standing for a moment of silence to respect the troops abroad and the military and all our emergency services personnel as well, who serve us all every day. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
And to
and
the
to the
republic
republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Going to item 1.
A&E Associates, Verity Woods Residential Development, Block 50.13, Lot 1, ZB variance number 2015.4. Applicant granted approval on December 20th, 2017. Applicant seeks an additional 1-year extension, retroactive from December 21st, 2020, end of the previous extension, to December 19th, 2021.
Okay, for the applicant, I believe we have Mr. Ward.
Excuse me, Sal Alfieri. I'm filling in for my father, Sal Alfieri, tonight on behalf of the applicant, A&E Associates LLC.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yes.
And
So
your application.
yes. So we're here tonight for an extension of the approval under application number 2015-04. We're seeking an extension of that approval through December 19, 2021. This is our second request for an extension of the approval. And for the benefit of the board and the edification of the board, we submitted a letter on March 23rd, 2021, which kind of outlines the progress of the application. And it also shows that we're still seeking some outside agency approval, and it provides the dates that, or it provides some update as to that, our process in getting those approvals. With me tonight, I also have the engineer, Pat Ward, who's prepared to answer any questions that the board may have in assisting their decision to decide whether or not to grant the extension. So with that, I would just turn it back over to you guys for any questions you may have.
What were the original variances that were approved?
I think Pat would probably be better poised to answer these type of questions. Like I said, I'm just filling in as far as for my father. And by the way, he apologizes for not being able to come. He did have a conflict.
Okay,
So Jerry, this was a development, right, over by Bow Ridge, where
Yes.
Verde Woods got an approval to build residential condominiums.
yes, why don't we introduce Mr. Ward? If you could turn on his video and microphone.
Okay, can you see me?
No,
I hear you.
You can hear me, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Can everyone hear me?
yes.
Okay, I'm looking on my device how to turn on the video. I don't think I have that capability. Let's see.
It's on, usually on
Should.
the lower left corner, there'll be a little
Yeah.
camera image.
Loretta, you might have to make him a panelist if he's not yet.
Okay,
Participant.
okay, I gotcha. Yep, that was it. Thank you, Kate.
Oh, great.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
All right. So, sorry.
Marty,
Right.
you want to swear him in, please?
Yeah, are you ready, Patrick?
I am.
Okay, you just want to tell the whole truth, nothing about the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay.
You want to
And,
just introduce
you both-
yourself?
I am Patrick Ward, WARD with Insight Engineering, INSITE, engineer for the applicant. And you're here to answer any questions. I know there was already one posed, so I can answer that if the board would like.
Yeah, go ahead. Please explain the situation here and go ahead. You can answer any questions.
Sure. So the original approval was technically a use variance, D variance relief. That's why I was in front of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The crux of the approval was the fact that the proposed units are detached from each other, where attached houses are permitted so long as 50% of the units are attached. So we had a few meetings before the final approval there. We received the D variance. I think it was D1 use variance relief. And I don't believe there were any other variances requested or granted, bulk variances. So since the approval, there was an issue with the local Board of Education about bus stop pickup, and that was testified to at the last extension meeting. That was really one of the reasons for the most of the delay from getting all of the outside agency approvals, because if you recall, and some of the board members are new since we had presented and gotten the original approval, the approval was conditioned on the Board of Education agreeing to pick up children at the development. And it took several months to get written confirmation that the Board of Education will do that. And there was also coordination with the county, since South Laurel is a county route. But since then, since we obtained that approval from the Board of Education, we've pursued other agency permits. So some background on what agency permits we're seeking is from the DEP. There's a flood hazard area applicability determination, which has been submitted. We had to extend the original freshwater wetlands approval from the former approval on the site. And we're also, we have active applications in with the Freehold Soil Conservation District, the Monmouth County Planning Board, and finally with sewer. We have the Township of Holmdel approval of our sewer connection. We have the Bayshore Regional Sewerage Authority approval of our sewer connection. Now we are collecting signatures to submit a DEP Treatment Works approval application with the state for that final sewer. We also have approval from American Water for the water connection as well. So things are coming together, albeit we were kind of hopeful this would happen last year, but really the issue for the initial delay for several months was the Board of Education. So that's really a summary. I can answer any specific questions about those agency approvals if you'd like.
So what is your current anticipated schedule as to when you might have all of these approvals and can then apply for a construction permit?
So the goal to apply for construction permits is sometime this fall. We we anticipate really the longest lead will be the treatment works approval, which should take 90 days from when we get the submission. And the requests for signatures have been sent out to Township of Holmdel and the Sewerage Authority. So, we anticipate having all the approvals received and approved by some point this summer.
Are there any other questions that board members have?
It's been a while and I don't remember what we decided with the school bus. Where is that going to pick the kids up?
They'll be picking them up at the corner at the new intersection with South Laurel and our private road. We have a written confirmation that the Board of Education will do that.
So the bus is going to stop actually on Laurel Avenue and hold up the traffic on both sides and pick the kids up. Is that correct?
We had a letter of no objection. I can't speak to where the bus will physically stop and pick the children up, but we have written confirmation that the Board of Education has no objection to the application. So, and that was the condition of approval.
Now refresh my mind. Are we putting any kind of a sidewalk or anything where the kids are going to stand off of the Laurel Avenue?
The Laurel Avenue frontage will be improved with sidewalk, and then there's a sidewalk that extends up the new road.
Okay, so the kids would be able to stand on the corner off the roadway, is what you're saying?
Correct. There is sidewalk across the frontage. Yes.
Okay.
Dimitri, can I interrupt for a minute? I just want to let you know that it was not a noticed hearing because it's an extension, but the escrow is in order. But I do have the construction official here who wants to make a comment. Stephen?
Hi.
Who's that?
Stephen Winters.
Oh, I don't know.
Hold on one second. Hold on.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to let you know, I know this was an issue on a prior project that because of communication issues, but you should be aware that there is currently a notice of violation on this property for the structures being in unsafe condition. So I know this was on prior occasions, you had heard applications where there were notices of violations that were issued by the building department. So for full disclosure, I just wanted to let you know that that is the case currently. So those notice of violations have just been sent out. The owner may not have been aware yet, but that's the case currently.
What now? The implication, like, clarify that there are previous existing structures on the property,
Yes.
Correct.
and what's to happen with those structures?
They're to be removed, either destroyed or made safe.
Well, they're supposed to be demolished in the application.
Correct, but they have not been, and we've received numerous complaints from the chief of police and the captain that kids have been playing around the properties, and that there's an open well, which I had personally inspected, and there was actually a very large and deep open well on the property. And so the structure currently has been noticed as an unsafe structure and an unsafe property.
If I can interject in 1 second, what date were those notice of violations issued?
The notice of, you may not have received it. The notice of violations were just sent out, probably, I want to say, it could have been Friday or Monday. The complaints came from the police department, I believe, on Thursday. So, and they were sent to the owner of record that were in the tax records for the township.
Thank you.
Hey, Steve, before you go, are you telling me that there's an open well, like a water well that somebody could fall right into that's going on right now?
Yeah, so what happened was the well is about, I want to say 3.5 to 4 feet wide. This is a very large well, probably 15 feet deep. It's hard to tell because it is a deep well. So there was some heavy wooden pallets that were on the property that I had placed over the well to keep anybody that's playing on the grounds in fact, when I did the inspection, there were kids on the grounds that I chased off. So there was some heavy wooden pallets that I placed over the well to prevent someone from falling in.
Steve, who's the owner of the property?
The owner of the property is actually listed as a gentleman from Leonardo. It's Mogas. Is actually on the tax records.
Mr.
It's a
Alfieri,
gentleman from Little, or a company from Little Silver, I believe. It was a PO box.
And we can't find them for these things that are going on there?
Yeah, we can actually. The notice of violation under the Uniform Construction Code comes as an unsafe structure. So he has, I believe I gave him 2 weeks to demolish the buildings and make the well safe.
Mhm.
After that, the fine accumulates at an amount of, I believe it's $1,000 a week.
Hey, Steve, I mean, with all due respect, when I hear about a well and you've seen so many things like that that happen on TV, to me, that's something that needs attention in less than 2 weeks to, permanently take care of it, even though you just put pallets on there for now.
Yeah,
They
so,
fix that right away.
yeah, I agree. The well is surrounded by a wall that's about 3 feet. So it's not as if someone can walk through the property and accidentally fall in. They would actually have to step over
Oh,
a 3-foot brick wall.
okay.
So that combined with the heavy wooden pallet that I was able to put over, I'm satisfied that at least for 2 weeks it's safe. So for anyone to fall in, they would actually have to intentionally climb over the wall, remove the pallet, which is actually at about 50 pounds. So it's not something that can easily be removed. And then they would have to actually climb into the well. So it's not something that someone can easily be, could fall in. So, and all deference to the owner, he has to have time to be able to correct the situation. But after the 2 weeks, there will be fines issued if it's not corrected.
now, Mr. Alfieri,
Yes.
I presume you represent the developer.
That is correct. Yeah, we represent A&E Associates, the ones who received the approvals that we're seeking to extend.
So
Correct.
you are not currently the owner of the property. Is that correct?
You know what? I honestly don't have that information at hand right now. I can find out for you. I can come back with the information, but I can't say one way or the other as we sit here now.
Yeah.
Steve,
Excuse me, but that land has been up for sale for a number of times.
Well, hold on a second. I don't remember,
I believe it's A&E.
Yes,
My
Steve, I'm looking
recollection
at the,
says I think A&E was sent the violation notice.
yeah,
Oh,
I'm
they were
looking at
sent
the
it?
tax records online and it is A&E on a address at Route 36 in Leonardo.
because
Correct,
I don't
that's it.
remember when the original application was made that it was done in the name of a contract purchaser. I think the owner was the one who was seeking the approvals.
Yeah, that's what it looks like based on the tax
Yeah.
records. So that they could be held, that they're the ones who are both seeking the extension and receiving these violations.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah.
And this is the land that's next to Bow Ridge?
Yeah, in between.
There's a little driveway that's with walls on both sides that goes into the property.
Mhm.
Right? Is it bordered by the railroad tracks there?
No,
No,
No?
no, that's the wrong, no. It's
It's
kind of in
not.
the middle of Bow Ridge there.
it's
in
right
there.
borders the secondary gate. Not the
Right.
main gate, the other gate. It borders that gate.
It's what? It's adjacent and just north of Bow Ridge.
Right.
And north of it are other developments and properties. Marty, this clearly is not a good situation. What can you advise the board as to how we should be treating a situation like this?
Well, the violation is not our jurisdiction. That's the town's jurisdiction. We really have no say over that. Enforcement, everything else is up to the town. Typically, an extension request is pro forma. As long as the applicant has been trying to get his approvals and outside agency permits, which it sounds like, typically it would just be a matter of giving them the extension. I mean, I suppose it's possible we could, since we're going to do a resolution, we can make sure at least that well has been capped off and they satisfied Steve Winters and whatever in that violation before we vote on the resolution. That could be one possible thing. Oh, but it's not really our jurisdiction. So, I don't want to get too far out where we're doing something we shouldn't be doing. But, clearly what we're doing today still has to be memorialized in a resolution. So we'll be back in a month from now memorializing that. And, we could always just hold up the memorialization, if you're not satisfied or Steve's not satisfied, and see where that goes. But I would personally say, I would strongly advise Mr. Alfieri that he should get in touch with his client, and he probably doesn't even know about this, to get that done before, within the next 2 weeks. So this doesn't even, it's a non-issue when we do get to the resolution stage, and just leave it out of our approval, since it really has nothing to do with our approval.
I have a question. I wasn't on the zoning board last year. Who was it that got the approvals of the variances? Is it A&E, or was it a previous owner? How long has A&E owned this property?
A&E got the approvals.
Yes,
A&E
A&E
did
got
get
the
it.
approvals. I can represent to the board that we have not heard anything about this. If the board would be more comfortable, perhaps carrying this so we can have more of a chance to look into it, or alternatively, taking the advice of Martin, we would be happy either way. But again, this is the first I've learned of these notice of violations. I can't speak to whether or not my client has received the notices. So if the board is more comfortable at this stage, perhaps carrying this application to the next hearing, giving us a chance to look into the violations, I would leave that to your discretion.
I have another question to follow up on what Francine says. I've passed by that within, every day almost, and I see there's a for sale sign on it again. So if you're a contract buyer for this property, who's now selling the property? The owner, or are you guys reselling it?
No, I don't think they're the contract buyer. I think they are the owner. Maybe they have it for sale, but my recollection is that the applicant was the owner. It wasn't a contract purchaser when we heard it.
And it says new construction. So I'm pretty, listen, that's really, again, nothing to do with the extension request, but it may be they're just advertising the new homes that are coming. I'm
But it's the
speculating
homes
also.
that are for sale rather than the project.
That's right. But although the applicant is free to do either, but yeah, it seems like they're advertising the new homes that are coming up. But they could get that answer to us as well, just as just for clarification of what's going
But
on
if
with the
they're
for sale.
advertising new homes to go up, that's assuming they've got all their approvals. How do you advertise to sell a house without having approval?
Done all the time.
People do it all, yeah.
That's crazy.
I think at the least, we got to follow what Marty's saying about putting something in the resolution to see if this matter gets taken care of before somebody gets killed over there.
Well,
And actually, not to cut anybody off, I mean, Mr. Alfieri actually did me one better. He's willing to adjourn this and put it off until the next meeting. So why put it in the resolution? Because it's not really our area, but yet it is now been brought to our attention. I suggest now let's just put off this matter until the next hearing. Let's get clarification from Mr. Alfieri and then vote on it. That would be my suggestion at this point, given that he's consented to that.
I'm just curious how the well got built in the first place. How did it even get approved? Why was it sitting there all this time?
This
The
was an
house is
old
very
farmhouse.
old. Yeah.
It's an old farmhouse that was there. The original structure was just one house.
Okay,
That's the house that's falling down now.
okay. Private, right? Okay.
Bob or Kate, either of you have any additional comments or suggestions?
Not at this point, Mr. Chairman.
No, I agree with Marty. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too.
I would also just suggest, if there's any other questions of Mr. Ward, let's get them out now, because in reality, he probably does not need to be back on the agenda next week if we're just clarifying the status of the violation and possibly what's going on with the for sale. So I just think as a courtesy to the applicant, we should not make his engineer come back if there's no other questions on the reasons for the extension.
Do any other board members or have any questions or comments at this time?
Were there any other environmental issues on that property that we need to know about?
Well, this is already, I think what you.
I'm unmuting. Oh, sorry.
I think what you should understand is that you're not being asked to vote on anything here. This is a variance that's already been granted. So the only thing they're asking for is an extension of their time to perfect their variance. You're not asked. So whether there was any other issues, to be honest, isn't really part of this anymore, that this is done.
Right, but we're concerned about safety, and that's why.
Well, that's clear, but Jerry's asking about other environmental issues, and what I'm saying is, we could be here for 4 hours, but it has nothing to do with this application. This is only a pro forma that they're entitled to by right, extension of their time to perfect what they've already been granted.
Unless things have changed on the property since the approval was granted.
Well,
No.
Mr. Buffalino, if I could just chime in, so that's where the resolution comes into play, because the approval was conditioned that they get certain environmental permits.
Okay.
And if something has changed, that's still out of the board's jurisdiction. That goes with the various state agencies or whomever
Okay.
would give that approval. And if something were to be of the extent that they couldn't get the approval,
Mhm.
Then the whole thing falls apart.
Okay.
That's correct.
Yeah, because the original resolution will have included those kinds of conditions.
Correct.
And the
Right,
big
and
one
They had to
for the
change the-
board was the school stop. We didn't want the kids stopping on the Laurel Avenue. We were concerned about safety.
Right. Valerie's right. That was the biggest, one of the largest issues of the whole application was the busing and the safety of the kids.
And the Board of Ed has said they will arrange to pick up and drop off kids in a safe fashion.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the applicant will provide that letter to all the new board members that weren't involved with the
Well,
application.
Our condition, if I recall, because I voted against this approval, was that they had to come into the development, that we specifically did not want children picked up on Laurel Avenue. So if the school is not sending the bus into the development, then they'd have to come back for a modification before us, because that's not what the resolution was. And Marty, unless I'm wrong, that's what I remember.
I just don't have it in front of me, but that sounds correct. Unless somebody has it, I don't know if Sal or Patrick have it in front, or Loretta, but I just don't have the file.
I'm pretty sure that was it. It wasn't picking the kids up in a safe fashion. That was absolutely not what the resolution was. It was, Dimitri, right? It was, they had to come inside the complex to pick the kids up.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I agree with you, Valerie, but what did we gave them an extension last year or whenever that was, I think it was a year ago, and they came to talk to us about the school bus that they got approval. So I thought that they were going inside. Now he's telling us they're picking them up on Laurel, so I'm confused. Like,
Well, that would not be in accordance with the the resolution. So that would be a problem.
So maybe Sal, if you can send that letter from the Board of Ed and get it to Loretta so she can get it to us.
And Loretta, could you please send me and the other board members, because we have a number of new board members, a copy of the original approval resolution?
Sure.
So we can see what the wording of those conditions was.
Okay.
I'd be happy to send the letter. I will have that out tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, because I know, I recall, as Dimitri indicated last year, discussion about the extension. And my understanding was that the Board of Ed had simply said, we'll deal with it. And the board at that time was saying, okay. And I was not aware that potentially what the Board of Ed letter said conflicts with the approval resolution.
I have a question. Who's the one that has the jurisdiction? Let's say the school says, that's okay, pick them up on Laurel Avenue, but we are the zoning board. And if we don't feel that's safe to approve an application where kids are being picked up on a very busy road, who has that jurisdiction? The school can say, sorry, zoning board, we think it's safe to pick up kids on Laurel Avenue?
that's a Marty question.
Marty?
What?
Yeah, no, where the kids get picked up is up to the Board of Ed. I mean, if the application itself has an overriding safety issue, that's something the board at the time could have, used and said, we don't, even if they had no variances at all, there could have been this overriding safety issue. And they could have attempted to deny the site plan. And of course, it could have been challenged or not, but that would have been at least a reason. That didn't happen here. So at this point, we're talking about things that have nothing to do with where we are today, right? The application was approved. There is a condition. And as I'm talking, I'm trying to pull up the old resolution just to give you the wording if I can find it. But So your question actually would have been appropriate at the time,
Valerie's saying
2-3 years ago.
Yeah, because Valerie's saying that she remembers approving it only if they were able to pick up the kids inside the development.
Whatever the resolution is, they have to comply with. Absolutely. Or if they can't, they have to come back for amended or do something
This was a
else.
huge safety issue for us, and we were not a unanimous board on this resolution, on voting on this matter. So my recollection, again, it's been several years, is that that was a condition of the approval.
So Val, I don't, not to belabor
No.
this, but so I'm looking at the unsigned resolution, which is the only copy I have, but it is condition 5, special condition 5, that they need to confirm that the Board of Ed will agree to pick up and drop off all school children either at the intersection of Laurel and Birdie Woods entrance or the cul-de-sac. And I think, as I recall now that I see that, the Bow Ridge people did not want the bus picking up the Birdie Woods people in the Bow Ridge development, where I think they pick them up in there where their pool area is, but they didn't want any of the kids there for the liability and everything else. So they had to pick up either at their entrance or inside. So I'm not sure what the letter is that we're going to see, but it's either or. It's not just inside.
So wait, the one at the entrance, meaning the entrance to Bow Ridge or the entrance? To
No, the Birdie Woods, the entrance to Birdie Woods. So they would not, we all agreed that the children should not be on the Bow Ridge property to get picked up or dropped off.
Okay. So if it's at the street, but at the entrance to Birdie Woods, that would be okay.
Correct. The new street going to go in, that's going to go in for that development.
The school did not want to come in, the testimony at the time, right, and we're really getting lost here, is the school bus did not want to come into this cul-de-sac. Schools don't come in, the buses come in and turn around in cul-de-sacs. So we knew this was a definite issue when we had the hearing, because the school didn't want to do it, but we had real concerns about Laurel Avenue. So some of us had concerns about the development, so.
All right, I think our conclusion is that because of the safety issues with regard to the issues raised by Mr. Winters, we want to carry this to our next meeting to get clarification on what's happening with the issues that the construction officials have raised with regard to the existing status of the property.
I have one more point, Ralph.
Yep.
If according to what I heard, and we are now the kids are going to be on that corner, I would like to see a little plan or something, I don't want to see a whole site plan of where the kids are going to, because it's very tight over there. I'm concerned if that's the case and they are going to be picked out on Laurel, the applicant should show us at least a little cross cut of what they're doing there. I don't know if a sidewalk is enough area for kids to be standing there safely on the side.
Well,
So
I don't
Dimitri, just that's beyond us at this point.
Yeah,
We can't make them redesign the site.
No, I'm not asking him to redesign, Marty. I'm just saying that originally we were assuming they were going to go inside, so we didn't even give any thought about a waiting pad. I think that if we're stuck with that, we need to see what they're doing.
That would reopen the site plan. That's not what's on the table at this point.
Ralph's right. So the conditions pretty clear, assuming the signed copy is exactly what I read to you. So at the time, whether we recall today or not, the board had the either or alternative. So the time to look at where the kids would be standing on Laurel was 3 years ago. I don't want to sound, like we don't care, but that's when the time was. So now Mr. Ward may be able to get to Sal to give to us what they actually did propose at the time to refresh our memory. And maybe that's a good, just give us a refresher. If there's anything more than the sidewalk, that would be helpful. But we can't redesign it now. That's the only thing.
Okay, so and our next meeting is currently scheduled for April 7th.
No, May 5th, Ralph.
I'm sorry, I've lost 2 weeks already. Sorry
You went
about that.
backwards.
Yeah, May 5th. So, okay, we have another public hearing scheduled on that night, but this shouldn't take that long. So I'd like to entertain a motion.
Before you, excuse me, just before you entertain the motion, would it be possible if, as Mr. Flegler suggested, if there's any other questions of Mr. Ward, that they be asked tonight, or if you want to push that off to the other meeting, just, I wonder on how you would want to handle that at this point.
No, fine. If there are open issues with regard to the extension, certainly let's put that get that on the table right now. Does anybody else have any other questions with regard to the extension request, which is really the main item that's on the agenda? With that, okay, then what we ask for is a resolution to continue this item without further notice. There's no notice on this?
No,
Is there?
no notice is required.
Okay, we'll continue this item to our next meeting on Wednesday, May 5th. And so can I have such a motion? And in the while the interim, the applicant or attorney will take a look at the issues that have been raised tonight, and will hopefully be able to provide to the board secretary so she can refer it to all the rest of us information to resolve these issues.
What's on May 5th? What application?
The New Horizons.
Continuation.
So,
Right, continue. I have nothing else that night, just that.
yeah, but I mean, this took a half an hour. Is it gonna?
Well, I suppose it would not take that long next time.
Similarly, if we get all the answers ahead of time, it could go very quickly.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
We will do our best to get you everything well in advance of the May meeting.
Okay, good. So is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second,
Val,
Roll call, please.
Ms. Avon,
yes.
Mr. Buffalino,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Obanatopoulos,
Yes.
and Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll see you on May 5th and hope to get information from you prior to then.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And to confirm,
Thank you.
we don't meet Mr. Ward in May.
Correct.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You, everyone have a great night. Thank you for your
You
consideration.
too. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, going on to item 2, Jerry?
Item 2 is Hackensack Meridian Health Realty Corporation, 737 North Beer Street, Block 36, Lot 35-04, in the M zone. Zoning Board variance number 443. Applicant seeks an amended application for use variance approval to operate a weekend-only farmers market in temporary tents located in the parking lot area.
Okay, we've received a draft of the resolution for Marty. I noted 2 minor typos, which I informed Loretta and Marty of, and they've created a revised version fixing those minor typos. Does anyone have any other additions or corrections to the proposed resolution? If there are none, is there a proposal to approve the resolution as been prepared?
I make a motion that the resolution be approved as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Who was that?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Avon,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Obanatopoulos,
Yes.
and Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes. This resolution has been approved. Item 3, 11 Goldsmith.
11 Goldsmith Drive, Christie Orlick, Block 2801, Lot 1, in the R40A zone. Zoning Board variance number 447. Applicant seeks variance relief for a 65-foot setback from the property line where 100-foot is required. Applicant also seeks a 15-foot setback, excuse me, from the back of the property where 25 feet is required, to permit them to be 30 feet as required from the Board of Health for their septic tank.
Again, we've received a proposed resolution from Marty. Are there any additions or corrections to the resolution as submitted? If there are none, can we have a motion to approve this resolution?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
Anthony? Second,
Yes.
is that Don?
Yes.
Okay, roll call, please.
Ms. Abbott?
Yes.
Mr. Buffalino?
Yes.
Ms. Campus?
Yes.
Mr. Hearn?
Yes.
Mr. Pesci?
Yes.
Mr. Obanatopoulos?
Yes.
And Mr. Blumenthal?
Yes. The resolution has been approved. Okay, going on, item 4.
3 Lakeview Drive, Linda and Mark Levine, Block 30, Lot 24.04 in the R40A zone, zoning board variance number 446. Applicant seeks variance relief to install a fiberglass swimming pool and surrounding patio, increasing lot coverage from 31.3% where 25% is permitted.
Again, we've received a resolution from Martin with regard to the Levine application. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the resolution as submitted?
I have a question, and it relates to, I think, all 3 of these. If I remember when we were discussing these, there were some conditions that these people had to meet for us to approve it. And this might be my lack of knowledge because I'm just on the zoning board. Has the engineer looked at this stuff to make sure that those things are going to be met so that we will approve these applications now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they had,
And there's, they have to submit.
especially, yes,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Bob.
I was going to say, especially with Levine, I did receive their revised plan with the rain garden. The engineer did provide me with a stormwater drainage report on how he designed it. And I found it to be acceptable from an engineering standpoint. And Marty had asked me to actually review all of the resolutions from an engineering standpoint before he presented them to the board.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And you'll see them all, Francine, in the special conditions. And they're all subject to Bob and Kate's, depending on who's, applicable, whatever the issue is, their final review and approval before they can get a CO to move forward.
Okay.
Right, yeah, I would just wanted to add, and Ms. Campus, they generally when there's conditions of approval in the resolutions, it doesn't have to be met between the day of the application and the day that the resolution is approved. In this case, they were very expedient and got things in quickly, but generally those reviews will happen after the resolutions are memorialized by this board, and then Bob and I, and followed by the construction official and whomever else will help them get their permits.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And sometimes they can take a very long time, like Verde Woods. I mean, there's bigger applications and bigger issues.
Then sometimes you have homeowners who are ready to go for a swim, so.
Right.
Right. I mean, what's referred to here is these conditions. What we're doing is ratifying that these conditions are binding, that they stay with the application and with the property and become an ongoing condition. What occurs then is what is called a completeness review that's handled by the development office and our professionals. And only after that, the development office confirms that all of the conditions have been met, will they pass an okay onto the construction office. And only then is a construction permit can be issued.
Okay, thank you.
So there's a distinct process that follows this to ensure that all of the conditions are in fact met before next steps happen.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that, let's see, we had a motion and a second on this one?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Somebody make a motion for this? This is
Yeah,
the
is
Levine,
there a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept.
Francine,
A second?
Jerry,
Yes.
Ms. Avon,
Yes.
Mr. Buffalino,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Urbanitopoulos,
Yes.
and Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes.
The last one, Jerry?
Item number 5, 26 Bayberry Drive, Robert and Philomena Byland. Block 5802, lot 28, in the RTH 1 zone. Zoning Board variance number 448. Applicant seeks variance relief for a built-in pool, increasing lot coverage from 30.3% to 36.3%.
Here again, we have a resolution as prepared by Marty. This was one where we had a lot of questions about what the coverage really was. It was raised by the engineer and others. The numbers were uncertain, and there has been a resubmission that's reviewed by the engineer. And there's a report from him saying it's fine. I spoke with Loretta, and the revised plans do include now a coverage chart. And Loretta read it off to me. I'm out of town. That the existing is actually 30.6%, just slightly higher than what they had testified to. And happily, the proposed is 36.1%, which is just less than the 36.3 that we approved. So again, the completion process has been moving forward. The applicant has been doing the steps that were needed. And to me, okay, I was as concerned if the revised plan says 36.4, then they've got to come back to the board. But they're within what we approved, so that's positive. It helps makes things move forward.
And Bob Bucko has reviewed it and issued a letter that he's satisfied with what was submitted.
That's correct.
Right.
Okay.
So are there any other additions or corrections to the resolution as been proposed?
Is there a motion?
Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Anthony?
A second?
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Give it to Francine.
Okay. Ms. Avon,
Yes.
Mr. Buffalino,
Yes.
Ms. Campus,
Yes.
Mr. Hearn,
Yes.
Mr. Pesci,
Yes.
Mr. Urbanitopoulos,
Yes.
and Mr. Blumenthal.
Yes. So all of the resolutions have been prior hearings have been satisfactorily passed. Moving on, the last item I have is minutes. Since I'm not sure everybody was at all of them, it may be simpler to take them one at a time. First for February 17th.
Draft 3, I might add to that.
What was that?
That was draft 3 of
Draft-
February.
Okay,
17th.
February 17th. And yeah, okay, there were some additions and corrections as noted by various folks. And the one I had referred to, Loretta, is that on the New Horizon one at the beginning, the normal statement of the notice and escrow were in order, and that there was question was raised about conflicts and none were identified. That should be in that part of that those minutes. Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes as submitted by Loretta?
Motion to approve,
I'll make the motion
Ralph?
with the
There is
corrections
second?
as previously noted.
Yes, it's all updated. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Anthony, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Okay, minutes passed.
Okay, then March 3rd. Anyone have any additions or corrections to the minutes of March 3rd? There are none. The motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
So, second?
Second it.
Francine, all in
All in
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed? Okay, minutes passed. Last one, March 17th.
On that, again, I notified Loretta that for the Orlick one, again, at the beginning was the usual verification that the notice and the escrow were in order and that there was no conflicts noted. Otherwise, are there any other additions or corrections to these minutes? Motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Dimitri,
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion are approved. Bob and Kate, do either of you have any other reports at this time?
No, Mr. Chairman, not at
I don't
this
have a
time.
report, but I just have a quick question, which I'm just because this is my first time dealing with this board. We have revised plans for the New Horizon application, and they have made a few changes that have eliminated several variances. Would the board prefer if I were to write a new report? Would that make things easier, or I'm not sure how it's usually done.
Well, if there are significant changes, it would be, I know Bob's practice has been to take the old report that he had written and edit it to note that certain items are now satisfied.
Okay.
Leaving, and you might do the same thing so that becomes a comprehensive follow-up, and then one can see what items are still an issue from your point of view.
Okay, yeah, that's easy enough. I saw, I know that Bob has done that. And in this case, a lot of the changes that they made don't have much of an impact on my comments, but because the variances have changed, I wanted to be clear that that will be on the record. And
Right, well,
less, so.
yeah, Kate,
Okay.
what I'll normally do is anytime they submit like revisions or amendments or anything, that we should be writing a letter to the board, regardless of how small or de minimis they may be.
Okay.
Because it's going to come up at the meeting. Inevitably, it's going to come up at the meeting, and I don't want the board members that get sucker punched.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so anytime that an application, and I don't care if it's just a traffic report, separately, or a DEP issue that they may have had to address, but a letter should go out because it's something new that the board hasn't seen. And before they sit at the meeting, they should be aware of that one little item.
And
Okay.
if it's on the record, that I think expedites the whole process.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So, okay, so Loretta, I'll have a letter to you next week before the agenda goes out, because it's 2 weeks from tonight, right? Yeah, okay. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate your time. Question.
Anybody have any other items for tonight's business? If there are none, then a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
I'll second it.
nobody wants to go home?
Nobody
Yeah,
wants.
right.
Good night, everybody.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Very good. Thank you all. We'll talk to you in 2 weeks when we have the continued hearing on the New Horizons and hopefully a final for this round dealing with the Verdi Woods situation.
Okay.
So,
All right.
Good night.
Good night,
Okay, thank you
everyone.
Good night,
all. See you in
everybody.
2 weeks.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye-bye.
Take care.